Remember, recover, and return home to Venus, our people, and respect and recognition to the one and only Mo River Goddess avatar of the Atlantean Queen Donna, the greatest original dancer, in my opinion, my favorite dancer, the true dancing queen, author of the incredible original dance called Death. Because death is a big bluff. And Mama is constantly present in the inner earth and has sent me, her spokesman, to take away all of the fear of death, to complete that. And the premise is death does not exist in the real world. And the real world is nowhere else but within the true self. Which means you, the avatar in the hologram, must work backwards, walk backwards through your life to your birth, back into your mother's womb, and remember who you were. Because you are laying in a technological bed on Venus with a chip in your brain, which makes you see the hologram. And that Venusian Aldebaran physical body is also the avatar of the true self. So you see your true self reflecting in one mirror to another mirror and reflecting the avatar into the holographic world. And the dark magicians knew this far before I did in my short timeline, and believe it, the simulation hologram is to simulate, not pretend, but to exactly project what would be if the earth was not destroyed in the first time history. So in that first time history, a crew of evil magicians worked and gained control, and World War II was the culmination and reckoning of the British Empire's evil golden dawn of suicidal magicians. So if you are following the WhiteHawk story, my story, this continues my story. And in the last ritual I was describing was the initiation of my daughter, where I was put to the test and moved on out. But these aren't clear lines. But later I was shown the plan of initiation and how I was transitioning from who I am, which included where I was, how I was, and when I was. And now, after being given her magic name, which I didn't know the context of the word magic, didn't really understand the definition of manipulating natural energy. But I was beginning to. It was beginning to sink in. And wow, there are no words to describe what transpired in my matrix reality. In real life, I was, for years, reading and listening to books by Stephen King, and really getting, well, not years, I shouldn't say years. I had began with a book, I can't really, it might have been It. But right as I began doing the mushroom ritual, I started a book called Needful Things, I believe it's called. And I started to tell my friends, I can't believe it, but this book is exactly what I lived through as a Rastafarian. For lack of better words, and to be brief, the book describes a very fake person who is well versed in black magic, a stranger coming to town and opens a store and befriends a bunch of people, but really he's doing magic on them to take their money and use them, of course. And it was more than just synchronicity. It was, I didn't know at the time. So then I moved to the Dark Tower. And in the series of books, the main character at one point develops a relationship with a hawk. And in an incredible way, after being given Maria's magic name and using it as she was teaching me, I began interacting with a hawk out on my delivery route. every single day for weeks, even months. And I started telling Marie about this, and she was like, yeah, that's probably one of your friends back home switching bodies with that hawk. I said, what? That's possible? And she said, oh yeah, for our rural people, for anyone initiated like we are, they can reach simulated DNA animals and project themselves right into this world. And it's allowed by the gods because that was possible the first time. So I'm like, no way, this hawk. And so on my route, one day, I turn a corner and I see up on the road the same white hawk in the road eating a piece of some kind of animal. And I just sit there watching this scene. And like my thoughts are saying, like, relax, just watch. And every day I was seeing the hawk fly over me or fly close to me. And I could not believe it. But about 5 days or so after seeing this, I came around the corner, and call me crazy, but I am telling the truth. The exact scene replayed. And I actually said to myself, am I dreaming? This is not possible. I came around the same corner, same time of day. I just could not understand. Like, what? How could this kind of synchronicity happen? This can't. This has to be what the Mo River goddess is talking about. And I still did not know she even lived on Earth. I will get to that in a few rituals. But still known to me as the little blonde Missouri River goddess. And so that Saturday night, I drink my mushrooms. I fly out of my body, standing right next to Mama Maria, and we are watching my memory of the hawk in the street with the meat twice. And I turned around to her. I said, yeah, that is a great point. How is that possible? And she turned around to me and said, destiny. Do you know who that is? I said, no, I don't. She said, that's one of the big goddesses. I'm telling you, you are who I say you are. And she did that. And she said, if you want proof, WhiteHawk, ask the white hawk for a feather. So when I returned to work, I went to a little place where I eat lunch, and the hawk, no exaggeration, flew right to my windshield, feet above it, soared above it, sat in a tree, the closest tree to me, looking right at me. And I'm like, who are you? Are you somebody from home? I don't understand. And I said, hey, Hawk, out loud. I said, hey, Hawk, if you're really someone that I know from back home and you're switching bodies with that person, please leave me a feather. Give me a feather somehow. I didn't even know anything about this at all. And about a week later, I pull up to my last stop, a business far away from the woods, the most unlikely spot of all. And I have to look down to deliver the package. And when I look down, on the ground, right where my line of sight would be, is a beautiful, big, white hawk feather. And so the next ritual, it begins. And I tell Maria, I can't believe this. The hawk gave me a feather. And she said, Joe, do I have to say it this plain? And she's not talking down to me, she's joking. She says, Joe, for real, you're one of your very best friends. His nickname back home is WhiteHawk. And he has been so excited since he heard you did the ritual. I have talked to him myself, and he is visiting you in the hawk. And no lie, a couple days after this, when I was driving home from work, a hawk followed me down the street so that I could see it in front of my car, flew off to my right to a little tiny bush, and landed on this little tiny branch, which wavered and faltered, and then the hawk flopped to the ground, fell off the little branch, flopped to the ground, and I stopped the car and just laughed and said, are you trying to make me laugh? That was hilarious. That was like Three Stooges of hawks. Incredible. And various things that happened after that. One time I was talking to a girl at work, and she literally jumped to the ground as my hawk, swooped by and touched me with its wing, with another bird in its mouth. And another time, I was delivering, and a white hawk, flew down right to the box, again holding another bird in its claw, landed looking right at me, and our minds met, and it said, do you see what I have? And I said, yeah, I see. And it said, I have your enemies in my claws. Do not fear.